there is one thing that literally drives me crazy. And it's when I see a photographer holding his camera with the right hand and grabbing the lens from the top. Why do you want to do that? This is how you do it. You hold the camera with your right hand and you let the lens sit on the palm of your left hand. At this point, your armpits are closed, the elbows are resting on your hips, and you minimize any possible camera shake. But this has nothing to do with today's video, because in landscape photography you do not hold your camera with your hands, period. Welcome to my channel. Here we talk about photography and I make videos just like this one, where I share some landscape photography tips that anybody can follow. So, if you're here for the first time and you love photography like me, it might be a good idea to subscribe. For me, landscape photography has been and still is a learning by doing experience. Almost every time that I go out, I learn something new. And I think that this is also part of the fun of this journey. At the same time, there are a few slips that can be corrected very easily. So let's fix these mistakes today. Mistake number one. Stop taking handheld photos. You need to put your camera on a tripod. Just abandon the idea that you can take landscape photography holding a camera in your hands. It's not possible. You can handhold your camera for snapshots, for test shots from different viewpoints, but the final shot, the real shot, the shot that you want to bring home, print and put on your wall, needs to be on a tripod. Only when your camera is on a tripod you can refine your composition, making sure that your frame is not including unwanted elements, that the symmetry you're looking for is perfect, that there will not be any camera shakes at all. In this way, your photo will not be blurry anymore. So trust me, I know what a pain is to drag your tripod everywhere. But I consider the tripod like a fishing pole. I cannot go fishing without my fishing pole. Fishing is not really my thing. I'm not sure why I'm using this analogy, but I'm sure you get it. Also, when you buy a tripod, don't go cheap. There is no point to carry around everywhere a tripod that doesn't stay put, a tripod that is not solid, a tripod where the legs are sinking in little by little. It will drive you crazy and you will regret that you brought it with you. A good tripod will last forever, and most of the times will last more than your cameras. So invest on a good one. I had my main tripod for almost 10 years and it's still solid as a rock. It's my favorite tripod to use. As a tripod I use a very robust, really right stuff. That's the name of the brand. And I took my best pictures when my camera was sitting on that tripod. Number two, you cannot control everything. Learn to accept that in landscape photography there are things that you can control. Your gear, your camera settings, the time of the day that you pick to go out and shoot. But there are also things that you do not control. The weather, the clouds formations, the colors hue of sunset and sunrise. I used to get very frustrated by the uncontrolled elements. When the conditions were not right, I thought the universe was against me. Sometimes I still get a little frustrated.
I'm not sure why, when I decide to go out and make a landscape photography video, the clouds shy away. Nothing. For some reason.
But then I realized that those uncontrollable elements are the beauty and the thrill of landscape photography. Also, those are the elements that will make your photos unique. Imagine how boring it would be if you knew already what kind of conditions, what kind of photos you would get in that specific spot at that time of the day. That is for product or portrait photographers, not for us. Laredo will not be happy about this.
Holy cannoli.
If you saw my last week video about landscape photography in Iceland, you saw how rain, dark clouds, bad weather was actually a blessing for the mood of my photos. So embrace the elements that you don't control in landscape photography and make them a challenge. The storm is coming again, but look at these clouds. Mistake number 3, you take far too many photos. Stop taking 2000 shots. Again, this is not portrait photography where you need to take a lot of shots in order to capture the perfect pose once you get to your landscape photography location. The scenery in front of you is not going to change pose. So instead of taking thousands of photos everywhere, use this time to walk around, check different vantage points, frame different compositions. And once you have your ideal frame, your ideal composition, wait. Wait for the clouds to come in, wait for the right light. People are often surprised of how few photos I take. But the reality is that if I have too many photos, it is not a good sign. It means that nothing was talking to me. It means that I didn't connect with anything in particular. So if I have too many photos, most likely it will be a bunch of average photos. Mistake number 4. Don't get to your location too late. I think we talked about this in the past. But I like to talk about this again as a reminder, because sometimes I still make this mistake. It does take time to scout a new location. It does take time to search for the perfect spot. And it takes time to try different compositions. But mainly, it requires time to absorb the scenery you are in, to understand the mood that you want to give to your photo, to decide how you can make your photo of that location unique. What is your state of mind looking at that scene? What is your own interpretation of that place? If you take time to do all these things properly, if you take time to listen and not only to look around, I promise you that your photography will change dramatically. When I give myself time, I'm always pleased with my landscape photography experience. And for sure, I have better chances to bring home a keeper. What I hate instead is to feel rushed. You know you didn't have enough time if at the peak of the light of the golden hour, once your camera is set and you are taking your final photo, you are still wondering if that other spot was actually better. Remember that the right light happens very fast. So make yourself a huge favor. Get on location as early as you can. Give yourself plenty of time. Sometimes it is better to have a less ambitious plan, visiting fewer locations and having more time, rather than rushing from one place to another. Final mistake that we are going to fix today. Don't go too wide. The very first lens that I bought dedicated to landscape photography was the 1424 2.8 by Nikon. Famous glorious lens, super sharp lens, super expensive lens, super heavy lens. But at that time I thought that I couldn't take any good landscape photography photos if I didn't spend $2,000 on that specific wide zoom lens. I couldn't be more wrong. But I don't want this to be a campaign against the 1424. This is about composition. And one of the hardest skills to master is the control on what you don't want to have in your frame, rather than focusing on what you want in it. And the wide lens will make this process even harder. So don't make the same mistake I did. Don't spend a lot of money on a super wide lens. Most likely you have already what you need. Practice and master landscape photography compositions with what you have in your bag today. Then one day you will buy a lens that will suit your photography needs and style. I'm sure you will have a better experience and you will save a lot of money. Let me know in the comments below if you are making one of these mistakes. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that this video will actually help you to fix these mistakes. So if you found these tips useful, share them with your landscape photography friends. And if you're not subscribed yet, really? Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.